A tiny sliver of people own a staggering share of the world's wealth. It's a fact so often repeated that it's almost lost its shock. But have you ever stopped to ask how that actually happened? Not through some single villain or grand conspiracy, but through mechanics, real, understandable rules about how money behaves, that quietly funnel wealth upward year after year. Once you understand those rules, you understand not just how they got there, but how the game itself is built. Start with the most important divide of all: the difference between earning money and owning things. Most people make their money by working, trading time for a wage, but the wealthiest don't rely on wages. They make their money by owning companies, property, shares, entire businesses. And here's the crucial part: things you own tend to grow in value on their own, while a wage only pays you for the hours you personally put in. Ownership works around the clock. Labor clocks out. Over decades, that single difference splits the world into two very different trajectories. Now, layer on the force that supercharges everything: compounding. When you own an asset that grows, the growth itself starts producing more growth. A fortune doesn't rise in a straight line. It curves upward, faster and faster, the bigger it gets. This means those who already own a lot don't just stay ahead. They pull away at an accelerating rate simply by holding what they have and letting time do its work. Wealth, left alone in the right assets, breeds more wealth automatically. Then there's a quieter advantage, one that rarely gets discussed. Money itself gets cheaper the more of it you already have. The wealthy can borrow large sums at low cost, using assets they already own as backing, and use that borrowed money to buy even more assets. The average person, with little to their name, borrows at high cost, and usually for things that lose value. So the same tool, debt, lifts the wealthy higher and pushes everyone else down. One group uses loans to acquire. The other uses loans to survive. There's also the simple matter of surplus. To buy assets, you need money left over after your bills. Most people have almost nothing left at the end of the month, so they can never begin. The wealthy, by contrast, have far more than they need to live, which means they have a constant stream of spare money flowing into new investments. It's a machine that, once running, feeds itself. The hardest part is starting it, and the system makes starting hardest for the people with the least. Now add time and inheritance, and the picture sharpens. Assets held across decades compound into vast sums, and those sums pass from one generation to the next. A family that owns productive assets can hand not just money, but income-producing machines to their children, who start life already on the moving walkway. Meanwhile, a family with no assets hands down the same starting line, over and over. This is how advantage becomes permanent. Not through a single event, but through ownership quietly passed forward while everyone else restarts from zero. It's important to be clear about what this is and isn't. This isn't a secret cabal pulling levers in a dark room. It's something almost more powerful, a set of ordinary financial rules that happen to reward people who already have capital and quietly work against people who don't. The rules aren't hidden, they're just never taught. And that gap in understanding, the fact that most people are never shown how ownership and compounding actually work, is itself one of the biggest reasons the divide keeps widening. So what do you do with this, as one ordinary person? You stop trying to win the game by the rules that were handed to you and start playing by the rules the wealthy actually use. You shift, even slightly, from being purely someone who earns to being someone who also owns. You take a portion of what you make and convert it into assets, small at first, then larger, and you let time and compounding go to work on your behalf. You'll never own what the very top owns, but you can move yourself decisively from the side of the line that gets left behind to the side that quietly grows. Because here's the real lesson buried in all of this. The 1% didn't mostly get there by earning enormous salaries. They got there by owning things that grow, borrowing cheaply to own more, and letting time compound it across decades. Those mechanics are not sealed away from you. They're available to anyone who understands them and starts, however modestly. The tragedy isn't that the game is rigged in some unbreakable way, it's that almost no one is ever taught that they're allowed to play it at all.